The Indiana Hoosiers are 9-0 and firmly in place in the rankings to be in contention for a playoff spot. As we head into the last 3 weeks of the season, we're going to tell you how they did it at Michigan State right after we get to our intro. Stay tuned.
Every team, every topic, everywhere. This is Believe.
Hello again, everybody. I'm the coach, Shannon Griffith, and welcome to another edition of the Hoosier Football Tailgate right here on the Believe Network. Thank you for joining me here this evening as the Indiana Hoosiers, like I said, 9-0 in the year, best start in school history, 136 years, 9-0 for the first time under Coach Signetti, and as well, a big-time jump in the AP poll and as well as the coaches poll as we await Tuesday night's release of the committee's vote on where the Hoosiers stand in a snapshot of time here in the college football playoff year. Big win for the Hoosiers on Saturday at Michigan State in a game that started off a little shaky there for a few minutes in that first couple of drives where Michigan State was able to get all to a big 10-0 lead. But from that point forward, 47 unanswered points as Curtis Rourke makes a storming comeback on the night and gets the Hoosiers in the win column again and takes care of all things in that ball game that had any doubt as it pertains to his fingers and, everything from that standpoint. He just did a phenomenal job on Saturday, leading the Hoosiers to that victory and really giving a no doubt of Indiana's offensive powers, even though probably their lowest output offensively on the year. Also did not achieve some of the goals that I had set for them that were centered around their seasonal stats. But what a defense did Indiana play at Michigan State, a hostile environment to recapture the brass spittoon. And we're going to talk about all those stats, but one stat that will jump out at you is Indiana held Michigan State, a team that had just rushed for like 185 yards against Michigan, and also somewhere in the neighborhood of that against Iowa. Indiana held them to minus 24 yards rushing on the day with 7 sacks and 15 tackles for loss, which also, I believe, set a record in a game for tackle for losses. So a complete dominance of the Michigan State offense by the Indiana defense. It was a tremendous showing by that defensive unit, Coach Haynes and crew, with the game plan that they had in place. Now, Childs made his plays like I said he would, and he is going to be a very, very good quarterback with more time to grow and mature, because his arm strength and his ability to extend plays is going to be dangerous in years to come. So he's going to be a top quarterback. And you saw the difference between the two quarterbacks, between what Childs is and what Rourke is. And it's both have different abilities, but the effectiveness of Curtis Rourke, his high percentage throwing, his ability to find and get the ball to the correct receivers, get Indiana in and out of bad plays into good plays in the RPO game. I'm not sure there's no quarterback in the country that is playing as good as Curtis Rourke. You may ask, may argue here and there that, Ohio State's guys playing better maybe, but he really didn't play that well against Howard, didn't play that well against Penn State. Opening drive throws the pick 6 in that ball game. And if you look at it, Penn State had the ball inside the 5-yard line 2 times and came away with no points in that ball game. It's a different game if they get the ball in the end zone there. Kind of brings back some memories about Indiana's offense a year ago doing the same thing. And then, Oregon, they're still hot and rolling too. They're probably the other team that you could say is playing just as well as a unit, team unit as Indiana. But I digress. Let's talk a little bit about business here, because we want to make sure that we appreciate those that are sponsoring our Hoosier Football Tailgate podcast, as is Bet Online, the world's most trusted betting platform and your number one source for online betting. From the earliest odds to in-game live betting, Bet Online provides you with all the action, the ability to watch the games as they happen, with the largest selection of odds on everything from football, NBA, NHL, to entertainment and political props. Head on over to BetOnline today. Get in all the action with America's most trusted site for online wagering. BetOnline, the game starts here. And you can also get to our other affiliates through our link tree on my platforms at X, Facebook, and Instagram. There you can link up to those different entities. And if you do get something from them, which I greatly appreciate it, it was we will get, I should say, a little commission from that sale. But enough of that. Let's get into the important things of this game Saturday. We talked about Indiana ranking number 8. They make a 5-spot jump, which was, it's pretty good, pretty big move, but that just kind of tells you the AP poll's about a week behind in how they vote in that regard. And then they moved up in the coaches poll to 10, which again, I'm not quite sure that's always as accurate as either, because of, different things. And maybe a coach truly hasn't seen Indiana with his own eyes. So therefore he doesn't give them as big a rating as he may give someone that they've already seen, and maybe feels that that team is in his eyes better than what Indiana may be. But, those things are out of the control of Indiana football, and okay, no big deal. And it's one of those things that Indiana will have to fight in all this. But hey, yeah, Robert, about time. Yep, I agree with you there. For Indiana to become a little bit more noticeable. If there's no other media person right now that is firmly in the Hoosiers corner than Joel Klatt. If you have a chance to go to his X profile and watch some of what he put out today, it's about the 29-minute mark. He specifically talks about Indiana and his beliefs on where they should be. He believes that they are at least a top 6 team, if not top 5 at this point in the year. So, take it for what it's worth, but at least there's one individual, and there's others that are sold on Indiana's ability as a football team. When you look even at CBS, and they've got him as high as number 3 in the country. So again, beauty's in the eye of the beholder, but the only thing that really counts in all this is where will they stack up come tomorrow night when the true committee rankings are released. I'm not sure, I can honestly sit here and say, where do I think they'll be at in this arena on Saturday from that standpoint. But if I had to guess, I'm going to say they're probably going to be in the 6, 7, 8 category from the committee's perspective, as they hold out to see how they may do against a Michigan team. Although Michigan is down, they are the defending national champs, and you cannot slight any buddy in the Big Ten at this point in time of the year. And then also the big game that will potentially happen in 2 weeks at Ohio State, which could be a winner take all type of game that weekend in Columbus. But we do not look ahead and count our chickens before they hatch, so to speak, because they still have to get by the former what was I going to say? The game Saturday with Michigan and all that is a 3:30 kick on CBS. So just remember that as well as we head into this week. In that regard, what are we doing here? Hold on. Whoops. I got to turn my fan on again because it's getting a little hot in here with all my lights on me. Let's see here. We talked about Indiana on CBS, of course, and thoughts on Michigan State game. I gave a little bit of that earlier. Look, they did not play their best offensively, and it was pretty evident in the first 2 drives of the game that they were not in sync. And the defense, in some respects, was giving up plays that they normally don't. They had the big 3rd down pass that they gave up to Childs, which they and the Marsh kid, which they ultimately forced Michigan State into a field goal. We had talked about Michigan State's inability to get into the end zone consistently, but in the second drive they do. And when it was 10-0 there in the first quarter, in Indiana, for the first time all year, not only did they trail for the first time in 8 weeks, but they also gave up points in the first quarter, which they hadn't done in the previous 8 weeks. So you start looking at that and go, whoa, what is the heck going on here? But what they did was they came out the very next drive and did what good teams do. They answer. And that's what this team has been able to do all year consistently, is when a team gets a touchdown, whether they're behind or ahead, Indiana has had the ability to get an answer to that score, which is so deflating to an opposing team when that occurs, because you think you're off on a hot start. You think you've got them right where you want them. They're down 10 and things are going your way, only to have Indiana come right back and go right down the field on you and score. And that is a demoralizing thing. And after that, it was not good for Michigan State because it only pissed Indiana off, so to speak. Let's see here. Do I go to the games? I do try. And I was at spring game. One of my issues of getting to the game there, Fat Boy, is I do high school football on Friday night. And when these games are a noon kickoff, it's difficult for me to get to that Bloomington on that day. I'm looking at potentially this week, but it may all depend if I can get my credentialing and such. So I'll let you know if I'm officially going on Thursday, and you can ask me that again, and not a problem. Enjoy meeting up with anybody and everybody if they're at the Indiana on Saturday, and I happen to be there. But the best thing about the trip to Indiana from where I'm at now is they've got 69 fully developed all the way to Bloomington. It's a 4-lane highway. When my son was playing, that road was tore up from Indianapolis all the way down through Bloomington, and it was a beast trying to get into Bloomington, but to get out of it was an act of God in some respects. So in that regard, so we're going to also take a look at this game from the video standpoint. We'll talk about some of the good, some of the bad of the game. Again, Indiana's special teams comes through with the big block punt, and another one that they tipped, and the botched punt snap on one of them. So they were in 3 plays with special teams in the hidden yardage Saturday that were critical in terms of getting another way to get scores or set up scores. So not only did they get the safety on the one on Pounds' block, but they end up scoring on the botch punt one as well. So Indiana, again, the last couple of weeks, special teams has played a huge role in their games that they've played, which is essential, like I said, when you're on a roll like Indiana is, and when you can find other areas to take a team out of a ball game, special teams can be that. And Indiana has proven that the last couple of weeks. So that's a huge component that they've been able to do here since this past Saturday and the last week as well. So it's one of those things they've got to keep on improving there. And as anything else, if they can still get those games where they have impact, the punting game again for Indiana, they've also been able to pin teams inside the 20, which has been critical in that regard. So it's, again, it's a well-rounded football team that plays with a lot of tenacity on both sides of the ball. And we'll take a look at a bit on video here shortly with everything from that perspective. Let's look over at the final statistics from this game. Again, Indiana, 47 points, only gave up 10 to Michigan State. Of course, 122 yards rushing for Indiana, which is about 78 yards less than what they've been averaging on the day. And I'm not necessarily sure that they gave themselves a chance to run it Saturday. I thought maybe they abandoned that earlier. It's one of those things that I don't know if when they got down 10-0, they just kind of felt that they needed to get back in quickly, and they found the rhythm throwing the football, so that went away from the running game. But they gotta keep at it because they've got too many good running backs. You know, Black needs some more touches, I think, as does Lawton and, Ellison. But I know that there's only so many snaps a game that you can get guys the football. So 122 yards rushing, the big one there defensively, minus 24 on the game Saturday for Michigan State's rushing in that regard. Let's see. Yeah. The punter, yes, he's been phenomenal all year. Poor guy hasn't had a chance to putt too much, but that's a good thing. But when he's been called upon to make a kick in a game, he's done a great job of either pinning the other team inside the 20 or flipping the field position by getting a kick that is, 50-plus yards. Passing game, as you can see there, Indiana did a great job, 263 to 229. Again, Rourke had a phenomenal day throwing the football. He's the number 1 rated passer in college football right now. And he's also in discussion with the Heisman as being somebody within the top 5 or 6 that are in the discussionary phase with the Heisman. So pretty good there. And then again, 229, the defense held Michigan State to. That was phenomenal. And then you can see the total yards. 385, well under Indiana's previous totals on the year, from offensive output production, and then 205 yards for Michigan State. And like I said, this is a Michigan State team that, lost to Michigan by 7, but in all statistical categories that game, they led Michigan in all statistical categories, rushing, passing, total offense, whatever. But their stumbles against Michigan were the fact that they couldn't get 6 inside the 20 and they were settling for field goals, but they ultimately lose that game by 7 points, but they dominate the entire statistical categories. And the game that they played Iowa in, I mean, we saw some of that video. They thoroughly took Iowa behind the woodshed and kicked their what. And for Indiana to come out and hold that team to 205 yards is Pretty amazing. Third down conversions, again, Indiana wasn't very good in this category when it came to offensive production. 20% on the day. They are a team that's been up in the mid 50s in that regard. What was happening and why that maybe got a little lopsided, Indiana was getting a lot of first downs on first and second down and never got to the conversion down. So, but when they did get to that arena, it wasn't very good in that regard. Michigan State with 33%. Again, Indiana doing a good job defensively in that category. Fourth downs, Indiana went, I think they went, it's either 3 or 4 times on the day. They were good all the time. And then Michigan State only was 1 of 4 for 25%. The big thing there, the interceptions, Indiana had 2 on the day. Great tip ball by Fisher on one that was intercepted, and the diving interception that many people felt that he never controlled it all the way through the catch, but I don't know. That game was funky in that regard because Indiana had that one third down play where they were in their own territory. Ellison, they ran it on 3rd and short. They gave them the first down on the field, and then it was challenged by Michigan State, and there was no video that gave you a conclusive look from Ellison's perspective to say that he was short of the line to gain. And at the same time, when they reversed that, I was like, what is going on? I mean, that is not even close. Even the commentators were talking about that, from a review standpoint. They didn't, I mean, that one was pretty evident that there was not conclusive evidence that would have given them a shot of Ellison being short in that regard. But those are some of the things you get when you leave in doubt and you leave up to other people. Yeah, Robert, minus 24 on the day is phenomenal by this defense. They're one of the top defenses in the country. And without question, their defensive line on Saturday completely dominated at the point of attack all day long. And you could probably say the same thing for the most part of Indiana's offensive line, again, doing yeoman's work, controlling the line of scrimmage, not giving up sacks. But the pressure that the front four for Indiana was phenomenal Saturday, and what all of them we could do. I know CJ West doesn't maybe show up in the statistics as much, from a tackles or assists. They were double teaming him most of the day, which I kind of shook my head at. And I understand that, he's a pretty good player, but you got Kamara out there, and they're letting Kamara go one-on-one with that sophomore tackle, and he was eating his lunch all day. I mean, I thought maybe the quarterbacks may have sued for liability against their offensive line, because when Childs got hurt and Schuster came in, his first throw, he got smacked right in the mouth by Kamara on a loop. It was one of those things that, hey, welcome to the big league, son. But yeah, top 10 on both sides of the ball. Very astute observation there, because this is one of the things that Indiana gets. I don't know what the word is here. I think people don't even realize how good they are. And I think that goes unnoticed by some people across the country, especially media people. And this is one of the things that I was alluding to, what Joe Klatt was stating. He talks about Indiana and the dominance that they've had all year, where they've blown people out. And the first argument that comes up is, well, they haven't played anybody. I talked about this last week. That's such a cop-out excuse, because if it was Michigan or Ohio State doing the same thing and people say, well, you don't play anybody, the comment would be, well, they're Michigan or they're Ohio State. So again, these people that want to cry about Indiana's schedule, they play the schedule the hand they're dealt. They have no control over that. It's just like Indiana getting 8 home games this year, which is so out of, whack in terms of scheduling aspect. You got to give Dulcin credit for that. He was able to change that game with Louisville and got a different game to come in. And it's going to be it is what it is, but you can't hold that against them when they're pounding teams to oblivion each and every week. And people are, crying about it. They don't play anybody. Give me a break. But yes, I saw that Juju was going to be in the B-Town this week, which is, I think, a big thing because USC is struggling and Indiana is soaring. So that's one to keep an eye on as well. With that, yeah, that's true. I mean, and again, it's something that Indiana has to understand that it is what it is. But like Signetti said, he could give a rat's ass where they're ranked right now. He don't care. He doesn't care where they're ranked, and he shouldn't, and neither should the kids, because ultimately they let their actions speak for themselves, and that's each every Saturday when they turn to the scoreboard to see what the final score is. They've done that consistently all year long. So let's get into, let's see, I think that was it with some of the statistical stuff, if I'm not mistaken. Let's take a quick look. Oh yeah, right there we got to all that with everything and such. So I want to get over here to the statistical stuff and question there. If Juju comes, what happens to Taven? Nothing. Taven is going to have a shot at being the starting quarterback next year. If he can win the job between Mendoza and Tyler Cherry, and all those guys are going to be young. And I wouldn't be a bit surprised if they look for another quarterback in the portal, maybe. If the right one comes along and he can feel like he's the guy. So, we'll have to wait and see on all that aspect of things. But yeah, I mean, Taven's got all the ability in the world. Taven's just got to get to the point where confidence wise he can take off. And that's the one thing that he's, at time lacks. So it's just, one of those things where sometimes it's hard to recruit kids in today's world because they want to play now, but it's such a fluid situation. It changes week to week, day to day. Keys for Indiana's win last week. I talked about some of the things that I thought Indiana was going to have to do to win on Saturday. And for the most part, they did all five. Defense, they did a good job, I thought, containing Childs after the first two drives. They got after him. They put pressure on him. They sacked him and did not really give him much of anything where he could exploit them in situations. So they did a great job there. Talked about Indiana scoring 30 or more points and holding MSU to 20. That became fruition, and we saw the end result, 47-10. Indiana's offense did not meet the goals there, were 225 rush and pass for 275. They were close on the passing goal, but they did not reach either one on that. And defense, however, did. They held them to under 120 yards rushing, and they held them to under 225, I believe, passing, or close enough to it. And they did a great job in negating their big play action passing attack. On one of them, they got 2 interceptions out of it. So they did a great job of not getting their eyes too locked in the backfield and then being able to get out uncovered, cover, and did a great job on the perimeter as well with him and all the things that you've got to do to have success on Saturday. They did definitely win the special teams battle. We talked about that with the block punt, the botch snap, and another tipped punt. 2 of those were, one was a score, of course, the safety, because the kicker batted it out of the end zone after D'Angelo had blocked it. And on the one where they had the muff snap, Indiana was able to convert that into points. And then the last one there, Indiana went into that game as a +8. I believe they're going to be a +10 on the year. Michigan State's the worst team when it comes to turnover margin. And that's the thing that has really hurt them on the year quite extensively. When you talk about turnovers and how that impacts the game. And that stat alone has really hurt them. They're like, I think they're now last in the league at a -11 or something. I can't, it was something that when I was looking at it, I was like, is that truly the case? So, but again, Indiana did all those things to win the ball game, and they won it, even though their offense wasn't, you would say, on point Saturday. They were able to overcome that because they scored when they had the ball. I mean, that's the end result, is getting points on the board. It's not how many yards you get. That's going to be the thing. So, the thing that I think with Indiana's offense on Saturday, like I said, the only thing I had critiqued on them was maybe they gave up on the running game too quickly. But again, you just don't know how many of those were RPOs that Curtis ended up throwing because of the look. And so that's the one thing you just don't know in the course of the game, how many true calls were made to run it that ultimately went to passing on Saturday. So again, another big game for Indiana when it comes to all that aspect of things. And again, just some tremendous plays by receivers, Surratt, Price, Cooper. I mean, just unbelievable ways that these kids are contributing, because a couple of them actually contributed in the run game on those reverses that they ran, which was another little wrinkle that they've done before, but they did it more Saturday to try to keep Michigan State pretty committed and not letting them just, get out of position and take off running for the back. But they did a great job with that. And then, of course, some of the catches the kids made. I mean, again, it's just you're seeing why a quarterback is so important to your overall success as a team, because of what Curtis did on Saturday. You could see how much of an elite player he really is on the field. And I know Tino does a great job coaching him, just as does Shanahan, but his God-given talent, his ability to keep it on an even kill, that's the kid. And his studying, you can tell he puts time into film and things of that magnitude. But that's how you win at the highest level. When you have anything like him playing quarterback, I mean, whether he was here or Michigan would kill to have him, because he would make everyone around him instantly better, because of what he does throwing the football and placing balls in catchable areas and stuff. So that's the key component of any team to have success. You got to have a guy at the trigger point that does yeoman's work day in, day out. Is Will Johnson playing this game? I don't know on that one. Again, when you get into these injury things and the reports and stuff, they don't give you the availability injury roster until like 2 hours prior to kickoff. So to predetermine who is or who isn't playing is sometimes difficult. I mean, I was even shocked that Cincinnati came out so boldly on his radio show and say that Rourke was definitely playing on Saturday. So normally those guys will keep that pretty close to the vest. So it's just one of those things that you probably won't have a great idea on all that until we get to the game on Saturday. And they can give an update on all of that. So let's take a little look at some of these things that they did well on Saturday up at East Lansing on a beautiful Saturday afternoon. This is some of the first series that Indiana had, and these are some of the things that were happening on that drive. And this one here is a TFL. Nothing there. They're bringing a fire blitz off the edge here, as you can see a guy running. So Curtis automatically knows he's already got man to man, and this is a typical call it and run it, no RPO on this, and they lose the guy up front, gets penetration, and when you get penetration with a backer run through, that's what's going to happen. You're going to have lost yardage. There's just no way around it. This is the throw on 3rd and 7 that Childs makes. This is a big time throw. Marsh is down here one-on-one. Indiana kind of conflates, gets their coverages mixed up, and he just goes up and, over Jones and makes a huge play. A kid, being only that he's a freshman, he's another one that's going to be a world beater in the Big Ten, especially with Childs. That's just such a big-time throw and big-time catch. And again, what Indiana was able to do was keep them to field goals. And this is that Kim kid who's a really good field goal kicker. He drills this one from about 46, 47, and you can see the leg he's got. That would have been good from 50 plus with that. Then the next series, after Indiana holds them to 3, they come back, and this is just a great play call. It's 3rd and 10 here. And Indiana is actually, really just playing rushing 4, dropping 7, as you can see how they're doing this. Now, you can see that in some respects, they really were scheming up the different coverages and stuff to confuse the quarterback. This is a screen, but what happens here, this is what Walker did last week. Daggone it. He has, see how this is here? What Walker has to do, and I said this last week, he's got to stay out here and funnel the running back into here so this guy can get from, make the play or stop him. But what he does is he dips inside and this guy bounces it and he's down the sideline. That's purely a mistake. See, and, that play is negated to maybe a 5-yard gain if he keeps outside leverage there. So that was one mistake that the defense made, and they made him pay for it. And then, again, Indiana's defense after that, they come back 1st and 10. Great job here of just, great play. D'Angelo's at the top, the tight end whiffs, and just a great job overall there defensively to get a negative stop. Now it's 3rd and 12. And this is where Childs is so good, but this is his even better throw. This throw and catch, I was shaking my head. I was like, holy shit. This is a big time throw. He eludes pressure. They had him. They dive for him. He doesn't get it, but enough that he can extend the play. And Marsh makes a phenomenal play on the boundary in the sense, and I think I've got it here. Yeah, here it is. Watch. This kid, look at that right there. Definitely. He's got 2 in and makes a great catch. Tip your hat to him and say, great play. That's all you can do there in that regard. Indiana coming back here now, down 10 to nothing. This is Lawton on the first play. He gets in. He does a great job there. I love that kid. He's physical. He can run well. This is Curtis again, throwing a wheel route and a delay. This is a perfect schemed route because of what Indiana does here. So you got him. He's going to do a post. He's just clearing. The running back is what we would call this, or I called it, was we labeled our receivers and backs as T or H or X. In this case, he's doing a T follow, and this is doing what we call a Y sit. So Curtis is really reading this from 1 to 2 to 3. And because this guy is high, he doesn't necessarily want to throw the post because it get picked there. This is where he does great job. You can see his eyes as they're pretty well painted down the field there. And he does a great job on this particular play to get the big play and touchdown to Zach. And again, just a great overall play call and a great job by Curtis on that one. You can see it here maybe from his perspective. And like I said, you can see his head. He was looking down this way first, and then he scans back to the follow route. He doesn't like it. He just checks it down to Zach, and it goes for a touchdown. All right. So 10-10. This is a great job on the play action, because this is what Michigan State does so well. Here's that pass action, and they're trying to throw it to the tight end over in the hole there. And Zach does a great job of reading it, tipping it, and there you go. You're getting a good pick. And again, that put Indiana in great field position from that standpoint. Then they come back. This is, again, look at this defense swarm. I mean, you talk about doing what your coach expects of you. They're going to get about 6 hats around this football. You can count them. Look at that. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 guys there for Indiana, and 7 and 8 coming. So, again, a great job by the defense putting themselves in position to get negative yardage plays. They were able to do that all day. Again, second quarter, RPO here by Indiana. Again, this is one of the – Rourke loves this play, because I can tell you this is not an easy throw going from his left. And who he's reading on this, or who I think he's reading, okay? So they're running inside zone, and they're giving him some type of tag on this read. We used to call it this would be 25 or 24. This would be H up here at the top, and we'd call it H book. So in other words, we're going to read a book. So when we said read a book, we always talked about second level players. So he's keying on that backer. When that backer sniffs up there, that's when he's going to throw it, because there's nobody here. So look, boom, backer comes up, clears it, and he was able to hit Williams there for a big time play. So again, he's very good at those RPOs, does a great job of it. Here's the reverse. Watch the blocking out here on the perimeter. This is just a thing of beauty. And I think this is, I don't know who that is. It's a receiver, but he does that's a phenomenal job blocking there. And I'm telling you, this is a hard block. He's blocking this guy for a good 5 or 6 seconds. Then you see Horton gets the kick out. I mean, I just get chills thinking about that play, because the way it's executed and the receivers are blocking. I mean, that's phenomenal. Here's Lawton barreling it in on second down. On the first down, they try to throw it, and I'm like, what are you doing in that regard? So another big one there. Let's see here. What we got? Notice a stat that the good teams have more assisted tackles than solos, the lower level team. Yeah, I would assume that would be what I was referencing there, John. Like you are interpreting there, of getting a lot of helmets to the point of the attack, or the where the ball is, because of you're really going to be able to attack and get those tackles assisted when they get the guy down and if it gets away. But again, good job by the offensive line here, getting good at push. And, you're going to have to take on someone, and that's where Lawton earns his money right there. Here's another play where they get great pressure and they keep him in the pocket and don't let him outside, which was critical. Kamara's coming around the edge. Their left guard does a good job of picking him off, but CJ comes back, as does the end, and they get the huge sack on that play. 3rd and 10 here. This is an interception. This is the great play. That is just pure reading. He knows right from the start. He is reading the quarterback's eyes. That's all he's doing. And the quarterback stares down. His receiver. He times it well. That's just a great play. Just a great play. Overall, great play. And then this is a great play. Michigan State did a good job of defending this, because really what you're looking to do here is he has a window here to throw it. And I don't know if a guy flashed in his face, so he pulled it down. But Michigan State does a good job of covering this all up. And this safety's heading that way because if you look at it, it's kind of a single high safety. But what Rourke and Surratt does, Curtis ultimately finds escapability. He finds him, pulls the defender, and dumps it into Surratt because they were able to keep the drive alive. And that's an experienced quarterback. I mean, some of these you just throw your hands up and go, Jesus, I don't know how we're going to defend this guy. Watch it here. Boom, boom. I mean, that's a tight window. So he's fitting it in some great windows with a thumb that's got screws in it. They try to go on 3rd and 1. They're in shotgun. They're unbalanced to the top. Indiana just beats them off the ball. I mean, that's crazy. Carpenter, Kamara, I mean, there was just no hope. This is one they get them. They're going to have some bad plays here. We just don't get enough push, and they get that penetration at the point of attack, and it leads to a negative play. But again, minimizing the negative plays on the day. Michigan State, again, here's another sack. I mean, it's just the coverage by the kids in the secondary, the linebackers, you can just see how they're blanking them. There's just nothing there. Now, I'm going to show you the difference of a young quarterback that's getting beat up. Because they're going to say this on this. The guy he should be throwing to is here. He's going to run what we call a bender route. And if you watch it here, ball's got to be thrown right there. And he should be ripping it to him. But because he's a young guy, it's one of those things that a young quarterback misses these throws because he can even go up here. He misses these throws where a guy like Curtis Rourke is going to make those throws because he's just got more ability in terms of the field awareness. Same thing on this one. 3rd and 10 moment for Indiana. They run a twist. They beat him up front. And that time they did a great job covering. He had nowhere to go, and Carpenter was able to get him. Now, here's the block by D'Angelo. No one blocks D'Angelo here, okay? This is a very simplistic play, and, you know, they just don't block him. He comes off that edge, and look, there's no one there. This guy reduces himself, like in here, and that even opens up even more, and D'Angelo just runs right by him, and boom, gets the block. Couldn't find it. Kicker did a great job of being aware and was able to knock it out of the end zone. Here's another great throw by Curtis. They're kind of running a wheel. Michigan State's in what we call a combination coverage. They're playing cover 2 up here. Hard corner, hash corner. Down here, they're playing quarter, and this guy's the flat guy. Indiana does a great job to draw the backers, and what he's going to do is take 2 and open it up for Price to sneak in behind him there. And you see the safety telling the corner to come off. See him saying it there? Because that would be his guy, because they would exchange it. But they got confused, and Rourke makes him pay for it. You know, and that's, you know, big time touchdown at the point where Indiana was on their streak of the game. So it is a truly great thing that Indiana's doing there. And then this was just a really nice play. You know, sometimes you got to give the other team credit. Great play action fake. Walk lets him outside. He was able to find the kid over the backers, and they get a big play out of it. And this is a 4th and 4. This is the first time I think Schuster's in the game. And this, look at Kamara. Oh my God, this is crazy. He comes in on the twist, and there's nobody there. And that, somebody got this as a picture if you can find it. And it's just the face of Schuster's like, oh crap. That kid is phenomenal as well. So again, overly dominating performance by Indiana. Really a game where they just thoroughly outplayed them after that, spotting them 10 points, and just took them out of it. And when you rattle off 47 in a row and you get up on them, it's just demoralizing. It's just start adding the nails to the coffin, so to speak. And let's see, John, I have come up with the four main stats: turnover margin, yards per pass attempt, rush attempts, and third down conversions. You win 3 of those 4, you win the game. That's a pretty interesting way to look at it. In that regard, I'm fully with you on turnover margin, and I'm a big third down conversion guy because that's the way that you keep drives alive, and the more drives alive you keep, the better chances you're going to have to score. And but I'd have to look at the, pass attempt, yards per pass attempt, and rushing attempts, which I guess if you're winning that in terms of yardage gained at the end of the day, I could see where that would be a valid statistical analysis of the black and white of the matter. So I can't sit here and say that is a unwise assumption, because everything you're pointing to there is some of the things that I look at that I think are valid in looking at it. A lot of times people would look at time of possession, and in the days when you're running iFootball 3 yards in the cloud of dust, I could see that. In today's game, where you can score pretty quickly with the spread offenses and the talent level, time of possession doesn't really carry the weight it once did in that regard. I also look at how teams are playing the third quarter. Are they being outscored, or are they outscoring their opponent? Because that's such a detrimental quarter for teams. If they can't get back in the game, or they're getting beat in the third quarter consistently, that tells you that they're falling behind pretty easily in the course of the game. So, but hey guys, I really appreciate it. You guys joining me here this evening. And again, we'll come back Thursday. I'll have everything you need to know about Michigan for Saturday, and what we're going to face with this Michigan team. Again, this is the team that Indiana right now, if you can believe this or not, is a 14-point favorite over Michigan. There's nobody in the world that's ever seen Indiana a 14-point favorite over Michigan. And I would say this even breeds a little caution for the Hoosiers, because that's going to be a slap in Indiana's face, or Michigan's face. And they've got the pieces there. What they're struggling with is consistency and an offense that has not lived up to where they were a year ago. And this is what I'm talking about when it comes to Indiana and Curtis Rourke. You look at last year's team when they had their star quarterback in the thing, and he was hot as every game, and it makes a difference. And they got 3 quarterbacks they've gone through, and they're just not getting any consistency in either side of the ball with their quarterbacks in terms of passing or running, for that matter. But Indiana still has to be on guard like they always do, and Cincinnati does a good job with that. I appreciate that, John. Thank you for taking time out of your day to join me here this evening on the Hoosier Football Tailgate. Guys, I appreciate it. As always, we'll be back Thursday for everything that's going on with Michigan, with up-to-date statistical aspects and analysis, what I think Indiana will need to do to get to win number 10 and go into the bye week on a high, and also the video that we'll break down of the Wolverines. But until then, I'm the coach, Shannon Griffith, and this has been the Hoosier Football Tailgate right here on Believe.